Hello, everybody. That's louder than I thought. Brighter than I thought. Thank you all so much for being here on this very special night. I'm honored that you all could be here to celebrate what would have been the 80th birthday of B.P. Nichol, and which we're celebrating with a new book. We've got a fun evening planned. We've got a few readings. We've got some thank yous from the editors, and we've got a few short readings. And then I hope you'll stick around and chat with some people that you maybe haven't seen in a while. Feels like a reunion week.
Yeah.
So I'm Alana Wilcox. I'm the editorial director of Coach House Books. And I want to acknowledge that we're here in Toronto, which is the lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. And I recognize the enduring presence of all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. And I'm grateful to have the opportunity to be on this territory as a settler. So yeah, we'll have a few short readings. But first, do I need to read the B.P. Nichol bio?
Yes.
Is anyone in this room not?
It's an honor.
It's an honor. And I just want to say, why are we here? And I just want to say, as I've been fortunate to steward Coach House for some time now, and it is so important to me that we keep alive the legacy of this incredible artist, and that we do everything that we can to bring his remarkable work to new generations of readers. So I'm happy to see a range of ages in the audience and a range of interests, and thank you for being here. And I will read B.P. Nichol's bio, in case any of you don't know. Those of you who care to correct the bio, please do, just chime in. B.P. Nichol lived from 1944 to 1988 and created a vast and intricate body of work that stretches from Fraggle Rock and children's books to comic books and operas, from delicate visual poems to the Martyrology, a 9-volume lifelong epic. Nichol was awarded the Governor General's Award in 1970. Can you imagine that now? And spent decades exploring the border blur between image and text, sound, prose, and poetry, including some of the world's first computer-animated poems. In a career known for collaboration and innovation, B.P. Nichol's writing continues to be generous and generative. Nichol's The Martyrology, and I'm not going to read all of the individual volumes, all of the books of the Martyrology.
Yes.
Cycle, a book of mysteries and translations, Confessions of an Elizabethan Fan Dancer, The Alphabet Game, a book of variations, and Nights on Prose Mountain all remain in print from Coach House Books. And now we add to that some lines of poetry. This book, I'm going to let the editors tell you a little bit about the book, but it's really, I think, I had the honor of visiting the archives with Derek many years ago, and to see these notebooks in person, and they're really something to behold. And I want to announce that the bpnichol.ca website is currently under reconstruction, but the entirety of am I stealing your thunder, Greg?
Yes.
The entirety of the notebooks will be available on the website at some point that I'm not committing to in the future. So I hope that you'll all take that opportunity to peruse what is it's a journey through an incredible mind. So the hard work of this book was done by our two co-editors, who I'm going to bring up to the stage in a minute in case they want to say anything. Derek Beaulieu is the author, editor of 26 collections of poetry, prose, and criticism. His most recent volume of conceptual prose, Silence, Lectures and Writings, was published by Sweden's Tim Glassett Editions? Close enough. And was published by Coach House Books. Oh, sorry, I skipped a line. And his most recent volume of poetry, Surface Tension, was published by Coach House Books. That was not our book. Derek received the Queen Elizabeth II Platinum Jubilee Medal for his dedication to Albertan literature, and is the only graduate from the University of Calgary's Department of English to receive the Faculty of Arts Celebrated Alumni Award. Derek holds a PhD in creative writing from Roehampton University, has served as poet laureate of both Calgary and Banff, and is the director of literary arts at Banff Centre for the Arts and Creativity. Gregory Betts' work consistently explores concrete, constrained, or collaborative poetics, as in recent titles such as Foundry and The Fabulous Op, with Gary Barwin. His poems have been stenciled onto the sidewalks of St. Catharines and selected by the SETI Institute to be implanted into the surface of the moon. He performed at the Vancouver 2010 Olympics as part of the Cultural Olympiad and has traveled and performed extensively across Canada, the US, and Europe. He is the curator of the bpnichol.ca digital archive, the literary arts residency lead at the SETI Institute, and author of the award-winning scholarly monographs Finding Nothing, The Vanguards 1959 to 1975, and Avant-Garde Canadian Literature. His most recent book is Bard Code, a full-color exploration of the metrics and rhymes of Shakespeare's sonnets, published by the UK's Penteract Press. Before I bring the editors up to the stage, I would really love for all of us to raise a glass in toast to BP Nichol. I wish he were here with us now.
BP.
And now, your editors.
About an hour and a half ago, Greg and I looked at each other and were like, are we speaking tonight? Do we need to prepare something? So we've been in the back like quickly squirreling away and writing some thank yous and some
Swirling, I brought props.
I was quickly swirling away. So I'm going to do some thank yous and you're going to do some...
Interpretive dance.
Cool.
Let's go.
So, some thank yous. Thank you, of course, to Alana, James, Crystal, and all the team in the print shop, and all the folks that work at Coach House Books for not only keeping BP's work in print, but also investing in some lines of poetry. Deep and abiding thanks to Ellie and to the estate of BP Nichol. This book goes to support the press and also to support Ellie and Sarah. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us this evening. Old friends, colleagues, family, community, all of us here to celebrate what poetry can be and what a life of thinking about poetry and thinking through what writing can be and how that actually we see ourselves and our minds in these kind of notebooks. Obviously, thanks to our readers this evening, Jim, Lillian, Bill, and Gary, and
Adeena.
And Adeena.
Yes.
A late ad. And Adeena.
Yeah.
And also, thank you, Greg, for years of working on this book together. These notebooks are, when I first saw them with Alana at Simon Fraser 5 years ago, when you start cracking open these books and I saw pages and pages of things that mapped out adventures in Dungeons and Dragons. And like choose your own adventure books, every option that you could turn in a map of the book's thinking. And you think of that interpretively, that these notebooks are a map of a book's thinking. But next to the maps of Dungeons and Dragons and choose your own adventure books were maps of Duckburg. You know, where Donald Duck and Uncle Scrooge live, where he's taking clues from every page he reads in the comics, going, oh, that's what Donald Duck's house looks like. If you turn right, the bathroom's there. If you turn left, the kitchen's over here. The bedrooms are upstairs and all these things. And if down there's the money bin, and over here is... And that kind of map of looking through a comic is the kind of map that we see, all of us in our own notebooks. This is how we think about poetry, is that we find this imaginary landscape. The landscape of Choose Your Own Adventure, the landscape of the Dungeons and Dragons of poetry, the landscape of Duckburg. And we explore our way through these imaginary landscapes. And it was just such an adventure to bring that and see those landscapes then into a book like Some Lines of Poetry. So I'm really very, very thankful to the press and to Greg that we could do this together. So, and thank you all so much for celebrating with us.
Thank you, of course, and thanks. I want to echo all those thanks, and I really appreciate you all coming today. One of the things that I bump into through the bpnichol.ca digital archive is how much currency this work still has. It still circulates. People are still reading it. People are coming back to it. It has an importance that belies its age and its datedness. It doesn't feel dated. One of the things that I keep coming back to with him that drives my interest in BP or Barry, depending on how you've met him, is we talk about him being all these landmarks. He was such an important figure for concrete poetry in Canada. He was such an important figure for visual poetry, digital poetry. Alana read off the bio, so you know those stories. But he's significant for many historical reasons. For what gets me, though, and why I think there's such ongoing vitality in this work, is you can feel the spirit of generosity that he lived with. He brought that to the communities. He supported people. He helped people. He made the world better in his small way every day by contributing to individuals and their own stories. And one of the things that I bump into when going through the notebooks as we're reading them is he actually extends, and this is amazing, he extends that generosity to the alphabet, to the letters, to the objects. He lets them tell their own story and live their own lives and have a spirit and presence and vitality that makes the page not just a funny, goofy page, but charming, warm, and actually deeply invigorating for how we see and think about the world. It actually becomes a way of wrestling with the material space that we live in and doing it in a way that's filled with joy and love. So this book is really important to me, and it's been such an honor and a privilege to work on it. As Alana mentioned, and as Derek has said, this has been a long time coming. We've had a lot of conversations for years about it. And it stems from our engagement with Simon Fraser University, where all of BP's physical archives are held. And in that archive, now there's finding aids that say the notebooks, and then just these boxes start coming out. And they're in disarray, they don't have dates, some of them. But going through them is a playground of joy and discovery. And you can watch, as you're reading through the notebooks, watch him discover the glimmer of an idea and then follow it through a few wrong turns, a few bad jokes here and there, a few very bad puns, and then all of a sudden he reaches the moment of grace. And that moment of grace is where he's realized the idea, and then you turn the page and he's moved on to the next thing. What we've tried to collect in here are as many moments of grace that we could find. We're just days from what would be the 80th birthday of BP. We've been gone for far too long. But so we've collected 80 poems from the archives here that are unpublished, unseen, from his notebooks from the 1980s. 80 poems from the 80s to celebrate his 80th, published by Coaches, which of course is on 80 BP Nichol Lane. Right?
That is eternity.
That is eternity, right? That's right, that's right. So these notebooks are very special, they're beautiful, and I should acknowledge that this book is also supported by SHRC, the Social Sciences Humanities Research Council of Canada, who gave a nice substantial grant so that we could digitize all 32 of the notebooks, thousands and thousands of pages, and they will be appearing on the archive as soon as we rebuild the archive, which is in process right now with Bill Kennedy and the archival team. So that's forthcoming. Thank you. Thank you, Bill. And so there's lots to look forward to. This book is a capping off, but it's also, of course, an acknowledgement of a life lived, a life loved, and so many people who are still invested in that, including myself. Thank you all. Yeah. Sorry, one last thing. I did bring props. Two things to point out. This one is stained glass that a neighbor dropped off at my house, having seen the book cover. They made a stained glass, and so we've raised that here from Jen Rye. Thank you, Jen. And then we were going to do a toast. Ellie Nichol has sent 2 bottles of champagne with BP Nichol's Blues on here from Southbrook Winery to do a toast. Unfortunately, the rules being what they are, we will just sort of gesture towards the toast. We've already had that moment. But thank you to Ellie for these 2. Yeah.
So without further ado, your host for this evening,
Let the fun begin.
Wilcox.
Yeah.
So now we're going to have 4 short readings, 5 minutes or so each. And first up, and these are people who I can personally trace the lineage of their work back to BP's work, and I hope that you can see that in the work that they're going to share. Toronto's 7th Poet Laureate, Lillian Allen, is an acclaimed foremother of Canadian poetry. It's an honor to have these people here. I just want to say that. Lillian received an honorary Doctor of Letters from Wilfrid Laurier University for her significant contribution and impact on Canadian literature. A poet, writer-performer, and a longtime arts activist, she is a leading international exponent of dub poetry with its politically charged, reggae-infused aesthetic of resistance and poetic calls for justice, peace, joy, pleasure, and revolution. Lillian's newest collection is Make the World New, Selected Works Old and New by Wilfrid Laurier Press, 2021. Other books include Women Do This Every Day, Psychic Unrest, plus books and recordings for children and young people. Also a globally recognized recording artist, Ms. Allen is a 2-time Canadian Juno Award winner for her recordings Conditions Critical and Revolutionary Tea Party, which was recently nominated for the prestigious Polaris Heritage Prize in Canada. Lillian.
Thank you. It's really great to be here. I'm with 37 students, so hence the mask. Yeah, I just want to say, you know, BP was just one of the most important persons in my life of poetry. I was one of the first people to go through the creative writing program at York. And I did a couple of classes with BP, and we became friends. A lot of people didn't understand what I was doing at the time. There's very little thinking about diversity or different kinds of poetry that were unknown. But BP was somebody who encouraged everybody to just step out and be themselves. And I carried that with me. Also studied a bit with Michael over there. And just to have some of that richness and that wisdom and that textures and layering in my early years, I really feel it in my life and in my work. The other important thing I wanted to say about BP was that when we tried to apply for Canada Council grants, well, in this case me, they didn't know what to do with it. They turned it down. This is not poetry, etc. And BP was on a particular jury that actually turned the work down, and he rebelled. And he rebelled in a way that embarrassed the Canada Council, because some of the comments that were made about the work or whatever was, I wasn't privy to the exact things, he actually threatened to go to the press. I don't know, that's not known to a lot of people, but that happened. And that opened up the space. So, you know, just these little things that people do because their own integrity commands them to do it. And so BP has always been there beside me in my life. And as I say, it became a friend that I would visit with, hang out with, chat foolishness with, and play around with language. I actually wrote a poem for BP a number of years ago, and I'm going to read it for you. Poem for BP. vagina. You had none. But it don't matter, BP, because though you came through one, you never really left. It always pulled you back, sucked you in all, speaking as space, and you became a womb, birthed a child of Canadian culture, promised destruction of borders in the turbulence of language, salacious syntax, insinuations, and breath writing itself. A moist greening of what poetry could and country owe, your gospel of creativity. Poem for BP. So I'm going to read from the book. And the first one I'll read is called Landscape Number 9, Flock of Birds Over the Ocean. And these techniques I learned from BP. Flock of birds over the ocean. And afternoons, attentions number 3, late evening, January 11, 81. Palance, ants. Air, hair, chair, light, light, dark, light, fire. Plop. Stick walking, San Juan Solo for Raphael, December 12th, 86. So, I see, say, as I sigh, see a surf, sure, urges, sure, words, say, sigh, say, see. So, I see, say, I sigh. San Juan Solo. And I'll do one final one that was deeply influenced, again, in my early days. And it's a poem basically written for a genius. Fools don't rush in, chord keeping. Improv is sensei tonal. You call beg music for your words. Back and fade, leaf, drip note, half note, key, painted mercurial mood talk, emotonal, expresses vis-a-vis in off-key, cordial langue ange, encore in a language, and music ain't music till you play, you hear? Sing styming grooves, carry follows lead, spin, stars in the cosmos, planet out of orbit, chase the groove, lead the groove, find the groove, chase the groove, lead the groove, find the groove, genius, they say, oh gee, mind ignores barriers, flows, flood, oh gee, comprehend way outside distant reaches of the universe, capture symphonic, synclipical, rhythmic fire, oh, who knows what's driving those fingers or what storm lurks in a sax player's lounge. The music becomes new life, formal in earth, informal matter. But does it matter, really? The universe grows infinite, indefinite, infinitesimal, a cosmos symphonic intervention. Oh, unexpectational genius. Oh, gee. You've added sparkles of spiritual inertia to our universe. Ooh, we touch deep, heart transmit, laser-roo, fully unawares, fine-tuned wings. If you can make tears roll from our eyes, jazz musician, if you can make tears roll from our eyes, you can make us fly. Music. I come to you like a watering hole, sip, gap, ripples skip out from my lips. Watch those circles start up and grow. Wonder just where those circles go. Thank you.
Amazing, thank you. I feel like I got off lucky reading the bio compared to the poems. Gary Barwin is a writer, musician, and multimedia artist. You all know Gary. The author of 31 books, including Nothing the Same, Everything Haunted, The Ballad of Model the Cowboy, which won the Canadian Jewish Literary Award. His national best-selling novel, Yiddish for Pirates, won the Leacock Medal for Humor and the Canadian Jewish Literary Award, was a finalist for the Governor-General's Award for Fiction and the Giller Prize, and was longlisted for Canada Reads. He lives in Hamilton, Ontario, and he's here with us tonight in Toronto. Gary.
I'm really honored to be here. I was a student of BP's in the early 80s with, I guess, Margaret Christakis was around at the same time we were students, and Stuart Ross was around. And one of the things I think that I learned, aside from blowing open my mind in terms of writing, was about community and what it looks like to be a writer in community and how to support community and sort of seeing larger than yourself and just in being the kind of generosity and creating opportunities for people. So that's something that I'm very grateful for. Also, you know, I mean, BP's has been gone for a while, but he's still publishing more books than most of us. I'm kind of amazed. What I would like to perform is I've taken some recordings of BP from bpnichol.ca, and I'm going to improvise a piece based on it. I just have to switch the microphone things, and I'll be with you in 1 second.
greatest literary masterpiece is no more than an alphabet of disorder. The greatest literary masterpiece is no more than an alphabet of disorder. The author appears on stage. He is holding a copy of the Martyrology Book 1 in his hands, reading it to himself in an almost inaudible mumble. An occasional phrase or line escapes his lips. Author. Years ago, flew away. One cannot hear. We can see his lips fold. The narrator moves on. I start his talk of death. There is between HIV and the tree and a blue winter day. Our children have been glad. See as it was the way the bird sat there on the branch, a word, a poem. I want my mind to start out a walk along. A road, a rod, a walk along. A road, a rod, a walk along. A walk along. A long day, a road, a rod, a journal everywhere their eyes begin. A promise to myself to do farewell. No one's other eyes near the W, and no sign of life. A passage through the surface, confusion of open losses, my history, some area of it is one the letters are black, arranged over a white field. The mountain doesn't want to be The author appears on stage. He is holding a copy of the Martyrology in Book 1 in his hands, reading it to himself in an almost inaudible mumble. An occasional phrase or line escapes his lips. Author, years ago, flew away.
Thank you so much, Gary, for bringing Gary's voice into our evening. Absolutely. Canadian poet Bill Bissett was born in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and started publishing in the 1960s. The author of more than 60 books of poetry, he is also a painter and musician. Known for his unconventional writing style and spirited performances, his collections of poetry include The Influenza of Logic, Loving Without Being Vulnerable, Scars on the Seahorse, Narrative Enigma, and Northern Wild Roses. His recent poetry collections include Breath and I Want to Tell You Love with Milton Acorn. And Bill is going to be joined by, sorry, this is handwritten in, I'm going to try my best. Adeena Karasick is a poet, performance artist, and author of 16 books of poetry and poetics. She teaches literature and critical thinking at Pratt Institute in New York. She's the winner of the LCP Spoken Word Award, and her archive is at the Special Collections at SFU, where BPs are. Come on up.
Do you want to give us a voice?
Yeah, for sure.
It's so wonderful to be here with Adeena Karasick because some time ago, nothing to God, but a lot to human beings. In the mid-'80s, Adeena did some wonderful phoning and got it arranged so I could see Barry for what turned out to be the last time on this earth. And she here.
I know, but I get to be with my two mentors, one in spirit and one here in language and life.
Look, genius. I got it. You got it? What's that thing? Oh my God. It looks like a genius.
You got it.
Excellent. Excellent, genius. So I just want to start, and then Adeena and me will be reading together. I just want to start and read this little poem I wrote for Barry after he passed. A couple of days for BP Nichol. I saw his face laughing, smiling through the clouds. inside a golden light. This helped with the tears. A couple days later, after early cold and snow, and we were heating up our bones with coffee, getting up, time. There had been no sun for a few days. It was hard. I saw the sun come over the London rooftops, shining and golden, like Barry was and is, I said, golden.
Oh, yeah. I love you. Oh my God.
Isn't life wonderful?
It's so lovely.
Oh my God.
Awesome.
It's so amazing.
Those golden.
Yes.
Okay.
我是领导吧 translating, Apollinaire, Apollo on air. Icarus, Simon singing, up, up, up. Simon the magician from Judea. Everyone reaching for the sun.
Everyone reaching
High in a tree, great towers of stone, built by the Aztecs, tearing their hearts out to offer them, wet and beating mountains, cold wind, Machu Picchu hiding in the sun, unfound for centuries. Cars whizzing by, a sun through trees, passing, a dozen so new wave films, flickering, and drivers' glasses flat on their backs in the grass, a dozen bodies turning brown, sun glares off the pages, so they coupe rolls in my window, flat on my back, on the floor, becoming aware of it for an instant. Translating Apollinaire, Apollo on air, Apple on air. Oh, surely, arranging the words in alphabetical wishkily. Unaware, Aztec back to beating now. I'm becoming bodies. I'm around now by the cars, life in cars, time in cars, laying back in cars, taking it easy in cars, moving centuries, a cold, coupe, a dozen drivers, everyone films flat, flickering. Hey Icarus, don't go melting on us again. Icarus, don't go melting on us again. A floor from glares, glasses, a glass grate, hearts hiding, high, Icarus in the instant. Apollo on it's Judea, Machu, magician mountains. My mind knew of offer on. Old pages, passing, Pichu, reaching rolls, Simon, slowly. Soleil, a stone sun, a stone sun, a stone sun, 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 a stone the sun, the sun, the sun, a dozen drivers, a centuries, a cold coup, a coupe, a film spot, a flickering, a floor, a 4-4, from glares, or Gilibas, on oath pages, a passing Pichu reaching, rolls, I wish we lead a Simon, slowly, soleil, stone, sun, usually, sun, tearing them there, through to towers, trees turning, up a wave, wet whizzing wind, a window, a winging, Shirley, caress, come back, don't go melting on us again. Ooh, I think he's coming back, he's returning, the journeying and the returns. Miskili, Mushka. That's the longest I've stood up for a while. Oh, they still don't have a railing yet. That's so invigorating.
I'm going to tell you where.
Piece of cake.
Okay, almost there. One step.
I'm telling you, that's.
Got it?
Oh my God.
You so got it. Good. One more.
This reminds me of my days as an acrobat in the circus.
Excellent. One more. Good. Take a good. And then last one.
Oh my God,
Last
deep one.
You're on holy ground now, David. Holy ground.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bill and Adeena. Our last reader, alphabetically, Jim Johnstone, is a Toronto-based poet, editor, and critic. He is the author of 7 collections of poetry, including The Chemical Life, which was shortlisted for the 2018 Relit Award. Johnstone has also won several awards, including the Bliss Carman Poetry Award, a CBC Literary Award, the Ralph Gustafson Poetry Prize, the Robin Blazer Award, and Poetry's Editor's Prize for book reviewing. Currently, he curates the Anne Struther Books imprint at Palimpsest Press, where he published The New Wave, an anthology of 21st century Canadian poetry. His bio doesn't say this, but his most recent book is The King of Terrors, published by Coach House Books. Jim.
Hi, everybody. I think I'm probably the most unlikely person on this stage because I didn't know B.P. Nichol. I only know B.P. Nichol through his work and having been an avid reader for many, many years since I was a teenager. And even though I'm an unlikely choice, I think that knowing B.P. through his work can be a very intimate experience. It's wonderful to be holding a new B.P. Nichol book. I love that the symbiosis between B.P. Nichol and Coach House continues to this day, and I think that everybody at Coach House deserves a big round of applause for putting this together. I've been spending quite a bit of time with the book, and even though it's not what I'm going to read tonight, I absolutely recommend the talk that B.P. gives at the end of this book called Don't Forget the Author. It's totally worth buying the book alone for. I'm going to read a piece, and I don't have the sound poetry chops that everybody had up here tonight. And I think that you don't have to, right? Because BP wrote in so many different modes. So I'm reading a piece that doesn't require that. And a piece that struck me when I first read it, in just how wonderfully BP broke a line. So I'm going to be reading sort of slavishly with BP's line breaks, a poem called Sketching 2. CCMC with Steve McCaffrey, written on February the 24th, 1981, and containing more ideas in a day than I seem to be able to cram into a book. 1. An empty stage, a plane in which there is nothing. There are objects, no objection, a beginning. 2. Birds. This is an abstraction. This is traction when the finger slips, tips, mouth music muses, chooses, which is not a rhyme. Times abandoned for a tone, a kind of random tone, moves the ment. 3. Saxophony, symphony, synthesizer phony, guitar phony, do the pony phony. 4. Screaming or a kind of pleading. Is there a value? Judgment is there. Simply speaking simply, cordial, musical, Broadway. 5. Voices, ices, over, An observation in the midst of, not singing. In the human head, walking the bass line, home. 6. 2 beats, 2 drums, 2 cheeks pounded. I'm, again, whistle. 7. Auto horn, auto harp, auto heart, yelling. Siren, sighing wren, weep-willed birdland. 8. Quartet, argumental. So the brain in brain is mainly in plain telling, or a sea washes over me, sound wave. 9. Altoed states, his attack jack is back to basics, cohered to there, to and fro in the world plus stuck, sure. Flamenco densities, hues, V's. Thank you.
Can we have a quick hand for all of our performers tonight? And also a huge round of applause for Greg and Derek, who did all the work for me. Please give them a pat on the back. Please stick around and regale us with your favorite BP story. And thank you again for coming. It's an honor to spend this almost birthday of BPs with you. So thank you.
Bill, you're awesome.